申し遅れました。本日から第8特殊消防艦隊に配属されました。第3世代消防官、新楽坂部です。
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here, and today I'm talking to you about Fire Force. So, Fire Force, or the Fire Brigade of Flames, is a shonen manga published in Weekly Shonen Magazine. Of course, there's a bunch of great series, Fairy Tail, GTO, Yamada-kun, Air Gear, a lot of stuff that I've talked about before. And this started in 2015 and is written and drawn by Atsushi Okubo. And this is the same mangaka that did Soul Eater. It's one of the reasons why I picked up this manga. And then, of course, there was the anime that was insanely popular. I kept seeing it all over the place. A bunch of anime decal shops would sell all the waifus. I knew at some point I was going to pick this up because it is an interesting concept of firefighters. And that's all I kind of really knew about, other than it was a shonen series. And then this is the Soul Eater person, and I liked Soul Eater. Let's get into this, man. A quick premise. After the Great Calamity from 250 years ago, humanity has been rebuilt, and it revolves around this power source called the Amaterasu that generates power for all of Tokyo. And the main governing force is the church, the Temple of Soul, that guides pretty much everyone. And all well and done, except for one thing happened because of this great calamity. These creatures called infernals, and basically what happens is, out of randomness, a person anywhere suddenly combusts into flames and is this charred body, and the only way to get rid of this body is by destroying its soul core, while also having a sister or someone there praying for their soul to rest. And thus, the temple decided to form the Fire Brigade. It's a special unit off the army where they tackle these infernals specifically. Eventually, people with abilities were born. The second generation consists of people who can control flames. And then eventually a third generation, where our main character Shinra is a part of, are people who can generate their own flames. And I think the best part about this for the series is how unique everybody can be. The one thing I was worried about for the series was how far can we go unique wise with the abilities, and even up to the latest chapter 248, they could still surprise me. There's a lot of uniqueness here, and it's all fantastic, ranging from just normal fire to heat manipulation, plasma, infrared sight, using vibrations, manipulating, I forget exactly how, but eventually we meet an antagonist that can manipulate gravity. A lot of really cool stuff. Even one character that can use smoke. So a lot of cool stuff there. And of course, with that goes hand in hand with how fantastic the combat is here. Soul Eater did a good job. And here, it's really cool, man. Because, it's always fun to see fire attacks. And then to have that in the entire series is really great. And of course, I think that also comes in to complement the artwork from Okubo. Really great stuff. It does feel its own thing, right? When I'm reading this, I'm not thinking, oh yeah, this is the Soul Eater guy. I'm thinking, yeah, wow, this art is great. It can have elements of Soul Eater as far as how abstract things can get, to the point where we have characters that just look normal, and then we have characters like one of the supporting cast members, Juggernaut, and his body is sort of cartoony in a way. It doesn't fit in the world, but it works for what we're doing here. And then eventually other characters are like that as well. And so we're met with Shinra in the first chapter, our main protagonist, who has been labeled a devil because as he awakened his powers, it was the same time his house burned down, causing the death of his mother and brother. And he promised his mom that he would be a hero that protects his brother. But after this event, he got traumatized, and there were rumors going around that it was him who killed their parents because he got his powers at the same exact time. And thus they called him a devil because he picked up a bad habit of smiling whenever he was nervous, as well as when he uses his power, which is, fire out of his feet, he can leave ashen footprints, thus calling him a devil, and those are his devil's footprints. But that doesn't faze him for the most part, as he still wants to be a hero and joins the 8th Brigade of the Fire Force. This is a ragtag team of unique individuals, and their objective is to figure out what's going on with these infernals, what's causing it, as well as investigating the other brigades themselves and possibly the church, and seeing, is there more than what we're seeing here? Early on, we get the basic setup here. We're meeting our characters. We're establishing groundwork, trying to figure out what's going on with the setting here, our characters. And then eventually we do meet the antagonist here, which is this is a religious group, for lack of a better term. And their main objective is to bring forth the great calamity again as they worship their god, which is a being that comes from this place called Adola, basically, or hell, whatever you really want to call it. And so that's the main purpose here for the series, is the 8th Brigade fighting this religious faction. It didn't necessarily catch me off guard because, again, I don't know anything about the series when I went in, but it fits for what it is, because, I'm like, okay, cool, we could fight these infernals, but it's not like they fight back. And it's a shonen series, so of course I figured we're gonna meet antagonists, eventually villains, that we're gonna have to see our characters fight. And aside from everything else, those are the highlights for the series for me, is the premise, the abilities, and combat. And to a certain extent, our characters here, everyone is unique and they're all fun in their own way. But unfortunately, that's as far as those characters go. When it comes to the writing of these characters, there's just no real depth. It's also clear when Okubo wants to favor characters over others, right? Like, our main group here is the 8th Brigade, but for the most part, it's only focused on a main character, Shinra, his comrade from training, Arthur, who has this night complex, which can be fun at times, and our Captain Obi. And that's kind of pretty much the main focus. Everyone else has their time to shine for sure, but there was a point where I was reading and thinking, gosh, where have these characters been? What are they even doing? Because the plot's moving pretty quick. Shinra being the main hero for this story, of course, he's going to be going through the most as far as, I guess, growth and power-ups. And eventually he leaves the other characters behind as far as skill goes. And then Arthur, with his night complex, that gives him enough to power up as well. So they're the two powerhouses versus everyone else just is there. They have to wait for them to show up when the big guys come in. And that can be disappointing sometimes because I want to see these characters shine. There's another 3rd generation user in here. Her name is Tamaki. And, I know her because she is a waifu. But getting into her character, it was unfortunate because she is a gag character for the most part. And that's where all the etchiness comes in as well. It was very boring, very fast. And it's still happening even now. She did get a power-up eventually, but I don't think that's going to help her character at all. Which is unfortunate to say because I thought she was going to be likable, seeing how popular she was. Much like our other popular waifu, Maki, right? She's the buff girl. And she has some moments, sure, but not a whole lot. And they only go so far with her character. It's unfortunate. There's other unique people in here as well, like Hinawa. He's also a 2nd generation user, and the way he can use it to control his bullets when he uses his guns. That's cool. The type of character he looks like, that's exactly how it is, but no depth again. And you could definitely tell Okubo, when he brings in a character he likes, he wants them in the story as much as possible. One, Benimaru, for example, he shows up and he's in it a lot more than I thought he would be. He definitely has more dialogue than majority of the main cast, which is what I'm saying is unfortunate. And aside from the favorites like Shinra, Benimaru, And I mean, that's kind of really it. Unless we're talking about other characters like Joker, there's no depth here. And that's the sad part, I think, because I want to like these characters, but there's not enough to offer here for me to really engage with these characters overall. The story is very generic, very above average, I would say. I don't feel anything special about what's going on. Eventually we do meet some characters that are pivotal to the story, and just the way those characters have been was just like, I don't know, it was expected to see these characters do what they did, but at the same time, that's the disappointment. It's like, oh, like I wanted something else to happen. And faces the problem a lot of shonen series have, which is, okay, obviously this fight with these two specific characters is going to happen at some point. And we get that, right? Like one of the strongest firefighters from the 1st Brigade eventually is going to fight our main character, Shinra. And then when we get there, the problem we face is, how do we resolve it overall? And we get the resolution and it's flat. It's expected, but disappointed. I was waiting for a twist based on how smart this character is, and then just see the way it ends with him is disappointing. He will be back for sure, because we got multiple teases in that arc and in the current arc. So, I don't know, hopefully they do better justice with that. And as far as the main story goes, yeah, there's interesting stuff for sure. Them exploring the old world, which is our modern time, which I thought was interesting. The architecture stuff going on is really nice. It's definitely a change of pace. The stuff going on with the church, there's a lot of things going on there. And overall, yeah, there's stuff to like here, but there's also stuff where I just felt pretty meh. Originally, I was going to do 2 episodes for this manga because I read 1 chapter and we were going somewhere, and I thought, oh, maybe this will be a change of pace for the series and I'll change my mind later. Let's get my thoughts in now. But then after that arc, which was very short, we just picked right back up to what the series usually is. So I'm like, okay, I know what to expect, and that's just the bummer side of things. I can see why this is a popular series for sure, don't get me wrong. I do like a good amount of stuff in here. Yeah, it's just your typical shonen series that gets pretty popular, but once it's over, I don't imagine a lot of people still talking about it or even remembering what this series really was about. Again, the stuff that shines really shines, and the stuff that doesn't, there's a little too much of that. And right now we're in the final arc for the series, because I can't imagine what they're going to do after, right? All the pieces are finally in place and we're moving forward. But overall, yeah, I mean, check it out. You know, give it a couple arcs. Check out the anime if you want. I've heard from people that the anime adaptation is better, which is a rare thing, but maybe that's just because the voice acting can help sell the characters, is what I can imagine, as well as seeing the nice animation with fire. I think that's always a hot seller with anime. It's like, oh wow, look how good the fire animation is. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen anything for the show yet. And alright, that's all I really have to say today, guys, for Fire Force. What do you guys think? Am I in the wrong here? What makes this one of your favorite mangas? Would love to hear about it. And we'll talk about it in the next episode. And you can email us, unversepodcast@gmail.com, so that way you can let me know. And then you can follow us on social media at unversepodcast, let you know when those episodes drop. So thanks, guys, and we will catch you on the next episode.